Okay, I will quickly go through a few of the things of the experimental design which we were not able to discuss. So, generally in informal experimental design, uh, these are the top three, like before and after without control design, after only with control design, before and after with control design. We'll go through that, what those three are. The rest of the formal experimental design, because of the shortage of time, we won't discuss. So this is how a normal before and after without control design experiment look like. So what happened in this type of research? There is no control group. We only have treatment group. And most of will have fair idea about the control group and the treatment group. Control group means you give the same old treatment, or for example, suppose I have a new method of teaching particular thing. Now, without control design, what happens? I will have a group of students on whom I will test the new teaching method and look at the change in their performance. So Y is the measurement of phenomena after the treatment, X is the measurement of phenomena before treatment, and Y minus X is the treatment effect. One of the drawback of this particular kind of experimental design is the time becomes instantaneous. What is happening is, suppose I will give an example. Suppose I as a company have started a marketing campaign for my particular product. Now, which lead to the increase of sale of the product. What happens, because I do not have control group, I may not be able to consider the impact of time. How the time will impact the sales? Suppose because of the seasonality, the sale would have increased, not because of the advertisement. So what happens if I had control group? I would have tracked the changes due to the what we say, because of the natural phenomena, because of the time, the passage of time, because of a number of extraneous variation. The market would have grown bigger, the disposable income of the people would have increased. There can be a number of factors which can impact the buying pattern of the consumer or increase in sale of particular product. But because I do not have control group, I will not be able to 100% sure this treatment effect or increase in sale because of the new advertisement or marketing campaign we started, the increase in sale is for that particular reason. I hope that is clear to all of you. Okay, I will take that as an yes. Okay, and the next one is after only with control design. If you have any doubt, you can go ahead and ask me. And I request the moderator to kindly allow mic for everyone. Okay, in after only with control design, what happens? You will have a control area and test area. And you will introduce the treatment and then measure the phenomena only after introducing the treatment. In control area, what happens? You are not introducing any treatment. So what happens, suppose in a test market, I introduce the marketing campaign, suppose some promotional activities, 20% off, 30% off, and looked at the increase in sale in that particular area, test area. In control area, I am not introducing anything. I'm just checking किस a particular month में how much sale I'm doing in that particular area. And now that Y minus Z will be the treatment effect when I'm trying to understand the impact of that marketing campaign. So it is far better than obviously the previous experimental design we had because of this introduction of control area. Clear? This last one, what we do here, this is kind of the most, you can say the best experimental design you can use. But again, it comes with their own cost, time. There are a lot of factors why you will do or go for after one with control design or before and after without control design. because a number of reasons, time constraint, money, resources. But if everything is available, like you have enough resources, you have enough time, then you will obviously go with before and after with control result. What happens, you kind of measure the phenomena before introducing the treatment itself. Treatment is clear to all of you, right? And then you kind of take the difference of effect in the test area minus the effect in the control area. So these kind of experiment take into consideration any changes which is happening because of extraneous variable. Like I gave an example of extraneous variable, the market would have grown, the disposable income has increased for the people, and that's the reason the sale has increased. There may be seasonality. So this Z minus A will take care of those extraneous variation. ठीक है, clear to all of you? I hope so. किसी को कोई डाउट है यहाँ पे? Anyone having any doubt?
Sir, I hope there is no doubt. Anyone having doubt?
ठीक है. So we will move ahead with today's agenda. That
Yes,
is the
sir.
data
Please.
sources. ठीक है. One second. So I think on the very first day, you people had discussion about. Okay, sorry, I was not reading the chat window. Okay, no doubt. Okay, fine. So you have fair idea about qualitative and quantitative data, right? So today's agenda is mostly how we collect quantitative data. Anyone who want to tell me like how you will define qualitative data? ठीक है. Qualitative data help you to capture behavior, opinion, experiences, unlike in quantitative data where you have numerical information. So qualitative data helps you to capture behaviors, opinions, experiences. Generally, these are used in social sciences research or societal research, market research, psychology, and business studies. Obviously, we use a lot of this qualitative data. ठीक है? Why we need it? Suppose I need to have in-depth insight about something. So I will go with qualitative research. Clear? So we have different method of collecting qualitative data and quantitative data. Mostly we will confine ourselves to quantitative data collection. You will have, most of you will have fair idea of how we collect quantitative data, survey, questionnaire, right? Observational method. So mostly these three type of data collection method we will go through in today's session: surveys, questionnaire, and observation method. Okay. Like what happened in qualitative data, suppose a company is launching a new smartphone and they want to understand the consumer preference. So qualitative data will say that 70% of the people prefer bigger screen in the smartphone. That is quantitative data. Qualitative data, people prefer bigger screen. I'm not talking in the numbers. I just got the preference. their opinion about, okay, screen should be bigger, smaller. So generally what happens, survey, we go with the numbers, 70%, 60%, and you will have fair idea now. Can you think of any example where qualitative data is be much more useful than quantitative data? I will request all of you to please participate. Can you think of an example where qualitative data is more useful than quantitative data? I just gave an example of when you want to have in-depth insight into anything, which cannot be captured through numerical survey alone.
Can I give one example, sir, that comes to my mind?
Yeah, please go ahead. You need not to be 100% right.
Right. Suppose we want to know the quality of services that the urban local body is providing to the community. So we want the response of the people through something called, the local communities' views, opinions, and perceptions. So there we can go for qualitative, how happy they are, in terms of the level of satisfaction they have. So we can use a scale which basically gives you a qualitative, response. Am I correct?
Correct, correct, correct. So you're trying to understand or capture the kind of a sensitive information like how happy they are with the service.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Generally, what happens to understand the why behind a particular behavior? Suppose you are in this particular example, suppose you're trying to understand, okay, the people are happy with the service provided by the whatever government organization is there. Suppose, and now the government is looking at the happiness or the more participation from the general people in that particular service. They are willing to understand the why behind that particular behavior.
Yeah, right.
Now you will need a qualitative research there. You will do interviews, in-depth interviews, because survey won't be able to capture that sensitive information. Survey may we will have predefined kind of questions. So it will not be able to capture those information which we are trying to understand the why behind particular behavior. Simple example will be like why suddenly the sales has increased for or decreased for a particular product. Why suddenly the employee's productivity has decreased. When I'm trying to understand the why part of these type of research problem, then I will go with the qualitative research. I will not ask employees to fill the survey form for me. And from there, I will understand, okay, fine, why there is sudden decrease in the productivity of employees. There I need to do qualitative research or qualitative data collection, focus group, in-depth interviews. It can be anything. But I need to understand why something is happening or some behavior, some phenomena. I need to do qualitative research. Okay. When what happens sometimes you will have a very complex problem. And that to solve those complex problem, there also you need to have or need to do qualitative research. Example, suppose patients are experiencing a chronic illness like COVID we face. Now, the quantitative data will obviously help you to understand mortality rate kya hai, how many people are getting affected, how many areas getting affected, at what speed this particular illness is spreading. So that those information you can get from quantitative research. But to understand why this particular kind of issues is being faced by the people or the patients. So the well-structured interviews to understand key what are the different reasons why they are facing these type of issues. Not don't take the example of COVID. Just imagine. Uh, let's talk about a depression. Nowadays, we see a lot of youth are suffering from depression. 20 साल 30 साल के बच्चे नहीं है, they are saying कि we are depressed. Now to understand that particular thing, quantitative research will not help me to get the insight. I will have to have in-depth interviews with the youngster to understand, are they really suffering from depression? Is this some kind of fashion nowadays to describe any difficult situation as being depressed? So the case studies, in-depth interviews, focus group, these are a few examples of qualitative research or quality data collection. Okay. And when you're forming new theories, new product, all those things happen through qualitative research. Okay, enough discussion on qualitative research. We why I was asking that question, to have understanding that ऐसा नहीं है कि qualitative is better than quantitative or quantitative is better than qualitative. Generally what happens, suppose you are trying to solve a particular business problem. Now to form the problem itself, you may have to go with qualitative research. First you will get the insights on in-depth insights on that particular topic, then you will go with formulation of hypothesis and then collecting data, qualitative data to support or reject the hypothesis. Clear? So qualitative data are needed when you need rich description, when you're exploring new ideas, or generally human-centered insight. This is behavior, emotions, culture. You're trying to understand all those things. You will go with the qualitative research type. ठीक है. So this particular slide talks about data like raw material. What do you mean? What is the meaning of that? Data is like raw. ये थोड़ा सा स्लाइड गड़बड़ हो गया. Please pardon me for that. Overwriting हुई है. Anyway, I will change it later. Why do we call data as raw? Anyone? Are all data raw?
Means, sir, it has not been analyzed or processed. We have to analyze for our as per the objective that we have taken.
Correct, correct. So data is always raw. The statistical tool, the way I'm processing the data, and the information which I'm getting for that, for different decision making, then the data become useful. And the second paragraph talks about only right amount of data and quality of data should be obtained. So it's very much important that whenever you're collecting the data, you should be having enough data with you to make informed decisions. Okay. Data generally of two type, primary, secondary data. Anyone have any idea? Primary, secondary data क्या होते हैं?
Primary data collected from the first source by the way of interview, personal interview, or a questionnaire. But secondary data collected from the articles, journals, magazines, website, etc. So.
So primary data, the definition is a bit different. Like data originated by the researcher for the specific purpose of addressing the research problem. Whatever research problem you have in your hand, if you are collecting data to address those kind of research problem, to solve those research problem, then that data will be called primary data. If data is collected from some other purpose other than the problem at hand, that will be secondary data. Now, you will say, sir, ये तो हमारे definition understanding से थोड़ा अलग है. No, they are saying the exactly same thing. What is happening here is, what happened? Suppose, I will give more of the example from will come from the business background. We have a company called Nelson. Anyone has any idea about Nelson? It's a market research company. So what they do, they have their representative employees who go from shop to shop, even a small kirana shop to a big mall, and they collect retail information. What is being displayed, at what price they are selling, or which particular product is taking the front kind of shelf or the back shelf. So they have a minute details. From a gutka to refrigerator to car, everything. They collect information from all the little stores and throughout the India. Now the data they are collecting is not for any specific purpose. Who uses the data? A third party will use the data. A company who is trying to understand the market. Suppose I am planning to launch a new product in a particular, suppose in Rourkela I am planning to start a new business. What I will do? I will go to the Nelson. They have already collected the data. They have the market data. I will buy the data from them, and then I will analyze the data to understand whether there's a demand for that particular product or service or not in Rourkela. And then I will make informed decision. So the data which Nelson is collecting is primary for them. The moment as a company, which suppose I'm a well-established company also, then also I will need to collect or buy data from the Nelson. So those data will be secondary. ठीक है, ज़्यादा discussion करते नहीं. I just give the example. I hope it is clear, like primary and secondary data. When you do a research, you have a research problem. All the information you collect is to solve that particular problem only. Primary data. ठीक है. Sorry. Okay. So primary data collection methods are generally categorized into communication method and observation method. Any idea communication and observation method क्या है? By the name itself, we can understand in communication method, there is some communication between the researcher and the responder or whoever is participating in the, from wherever you're collecting data. It may be human being, non-living.
In the observation method, there is no communication done. We just observe the processes or the methods to collect the data. Where we are not, means maybe I may be saying that in the observation method we are not interfering. In the communication method, we are just interfering and asking.
We are part of the process. We are part of the data collection process.
Means communication method is a part of the process.
See, you as a researcher become part of the research method. There is some communication which happens between the researcher and the responder.
Okay. In observation, we are third party.
We just observe. We sometimes does interfere, but sometimes we may not interfere. We just do the observation. We will look into the example. We will understand better. Okay. Observation method. See, इसके बाद वाले slide पे discuss करते हैं. But I will give some fair idea of observation method. What happens? Suppose, as a manager of a store, you will just walk through your floor and observe everyone, other employees interacting with the consumer. I will make a note of that. So you are not directly interacting with the employees, but you are observing their behavior on the floor. Maybe physically being there or using the camera installed on the floor. A very simple example of observation method. and looking at their body posture, the way they are communicating with the consumer, and their behavior, how comfortable they are making the customers at my store. Suppose I am running a retail store. Then you will make certain observation about the employees. And based on that, you will do whatever decision you are making. कि ये star performer है, average performer है. You are making all those decisions based on the data you have collected. That can be one type of observation. ठीक है. So this communication and observation method further can be divided into different methods based on the degree of structure, degree of disguise, method of administration. Now, degree of structure क्या है? How structured or unstructured your communication is. A good example of communication method of data collection which is structured will be survey. Most of you or most of us would have filled some survey in our life. और बहुत लोग research कर रहे होंगे तो they would have created their own surveys. So those are a good example of structured. Unstructured, suppose you are doing an interview and that interview is completely unstructured. Why you will do unstructured interview? We'll come into that later. Okay. Based on degree of disguise, the communication method can be disguised, undisguised. Like suppose if the manager is actually walking on the floor, that will come under undisguised. The employees knows that okay, manager is walking around the floor. He will be observing our behavior. I'm just using the same example. That will be undisguised. Disguise means a manager sitting in a different room using the camera and then observing your behavior. Disguise. Okay. Observation also degree of disguise or undisguised. Based on that also, you can categorize observation in two different groups. Does any one of you know about mystery shopping? Mystery shopping is an example of undisguised observation method of data collection. Mystery shopping क्या होता है? Anyone? See, whatever language you are comfortable with, I will be happy to accommodate you. English, Hindi, Odia, I'm comfortable with all the languages. But please do participate in the discussion. Mystery shopping, anyone, any idea? Okay. Mystery shopping, what happens? Suppose you have 2-3 retail stores, need not to be 2-3, you have only one retail store, suppose. And you have different employees working there. And you want to kind of judge how well that store is run. So you will have somebody to go as a shopper and look at the eagerness of the employees on the floor, how eager they are to help you, how comfortable the shopping is, how much time you had to wait on the billing counter, everything you will observe as a mystery shopper. You will do the actual shopping and then you will give your information. Okay, fine, everything was fast and quick. No, the employees were not helping out. They were kind of less of energy was there. They were not willing to help me out with finding the product. All those observations you will make as a mystery shopper. Right? That is what mystery shopping does. So that is an observational method of data collection. More or less, ये जितने भी categories है, we will cover as we go ahead with the discussion. अभी के लिए, we will go straight into the communication method of data collection. Okay. Structure, unstructured, undisguised, disguised. Based on that, the survey is the best example of structure and undisguised. Typical questionnaire we use. So these are 4 categories under which any kind of communication method will fall under. Either structure and undisguised. It can be structured but disguised. Can you give me an example of structure or communication method of data collection but disguised?
So interview can be communications methods of
Interview can be communication method, obviously. Interviews can be both structured and unstructured. Like the interviews can be open-ended question where it will be unstructured. The interview can come under structure also, but it's not disguised. Interview, sometimes you will have some uh, kind of hidden motive during interviews also, and you are asking those questions as undisguised. A very funny example will be like, suppose what happens sometimes, the reporter will is actually kind of trying to harass a politician. They will come as a disguised reporter, and they will start asking hard-hitting questions instead of being just kind of expanding their propaganda, supporting their propaganda. They will kind of ask all the negative questions or hard-hitting questions. Disguised, unstructured, motivational research, word association, sentence completion, storytelling are example of unstructured and disguised. Storytelling is one of the most used kind of disguised communication method of data collection. Okay. Disguised and structure are least used generally. Okay. As a researcher, you will not use disguise to kind of collect data. Okay. Now, as I have said, we will thoroughly look into three kind of data collection method in qualitative, that is survey, questionnaire, and observational method. Now, look at the survey. Survey, more or less, we all of you know why we do survey. Why and
Sir,
when we do.
to get the interest of the consumer. For example, if we would like to launch a smartphone, then we have to put a survey like that. How much megapixels of camera we require, and how much of display size you require. What is the sensor will be required? Something like that.
Correct. So generally what happens in survey is a very good method of data collection when you're trying to capture information from a large number of people. When the responders are huge. We know how survey works, right? Generally, suppose a company is trying to understand how happy the consumer are with their, suppose, let's say about example of Jio or Airtel. If they need to understand how happy the consumer are with our services, they will have a survey conducted, right? Different company, rightly said by one of you, like to understand the consumer preference in mobile phone industry, they will collect data from a huge number of people. And the survey is the best way to collect data for those type of research where you have to get data from large audience. We have seen a lot of surveys, Google Form, Qualtrics are few of the examples. We can do paper based also. Generally restaurants वगैरह में क्या होता है, बस you have paid the bill, they will ask you to fill a paper based survey form. You can do survey face to face also. And nowadays we see a phone survey also. Once you are done talking with the customer care, they will ask you to rate them. All of we would have like kind of submitted those surveys, right? Survey is clear to all of you? Now, look at the classification of survey method. Telephonic interview, personal interviewing, mail interviewing, electronic interviewing. I hope all of you kind of understand how this telephone interviewing work when you need a survey.
Yes, sir. Yes.
We have seen generally nowadays politicians also use kind of this telephonic interview to understand how good or happy the people in the constituency are. Personal interview, in home, mail intercept, computer assisted. computer assisted, most of us kind of do this type of personal interview. Mail interview, you send a question and the responder will reply back on the mail itself. Electronic, again, see, when we are talking about this mail, na, ये बहुत पुराना slide है. So thing is that we no more use mail services, mail parcel for interview. But if you remember, अगर आप लोगों ने रीडर डाइजेस्ट करके एक बुक आती थी, बहुत सारे देयर लॉट ऑफ मैगजीन्स दोस with the time when people used to read physical books and magazines, you will find mail kind of review there. How happy you are with the content, what are the area you want to improve in this particular magazine, which particular area you like the most. So they will understand ki, okay, fine, most of the viewers are happy with these sections, so we should concentrate on or kind of maintain the quality in these kind of areas. ये टॉपिक पे बहुत इंटरेस्ट है रीडर्स का. So that is how we used to do in early days. Up to mostly we do all the kind of data collection or survey using email only. Email, SMS, these are all part of the modern day survey method. ठीक है, survey we all have participated. I did not talk too much on survey, but I have a question for you. Like, when you will say कि survey is better than interview, that too for qualitative research. Now we all know कि survey is used, अभी हम लोग quantitative research के बारे में बात करते हैं, right? कि survey is the most common way of collecting data for quantitative data collection. Now I'm saying कि sometimes surveys are better than interview for qualitative research also. But we also understand surveys are typically associated with quantitative research. बताइए. So when the survey can be better than interviews for any qualitative research? Any scenario you think of, you can think of?
Sir, for example, I will again take the smartphone. Uh, whenever we find a bug in the camera, we report in the feedback section. So accordingly, the company which will be taking the survey, they don't want to take like 100 or 200 people, but they will only ask to 10 or 20 people who are expert in camera section or any photographers like. So they will be providing the best quality photographs and their feedback to the company, and accordingly the company will push a update. So this is like that.
And this does happen also.
Yes.
For example, especially in the mobile phone industry, what happens? They kind of gives a survey or take information from the expert in their field. So generally we call it a focus group, but focus group में क्या होता है? You will ask the expert to sit together and discuss on something, but you need not to do a focus group only for qualitative research. What happens? Suppose you are trying to understand कि ये phone क्यों काम नहीं कर रहा है? Suppose a company has come up with a star product, but that is not selling good in the market. Now what they will do? They will kind of send survey to the or the mobile phone reviewer or the influencer on the social media, because they are kind of expert on those things. They have reviewed, okay, ये part अच्छा नहीं है, ये ठीक नहीं है, वो ठीक नहीं है, and those kind of, when you need large sample size to understand a particular problem in your product, now you will go with the survey. Large in the sense comparatively large. You understand the meaning of large, right? In qualitative research, we need not to have lack of social media influencer filling the form. 10, 20, 30 can be the number. So you do survey of those experts only, and then trying to figure out ki, what is the problem. Interviews are time intensive. Those survey, the reviewer, YouTube reviewer, may not be able to dedicate that much time for my particular interview. So survey is the best way to collect information. कि चलो ज़्यादा time नहीं लग रहा, I can just fill the form. I'm okay with that. Then come another issues, anonymity and honesty. हर बार it's not possible for some people to give interview to you, and you as a researcher will face such issues when you go with qualitative research where you have to kind of select or do interview with those people. So they want to be anonymous and they may not be honest in face-to-face interview, especially in sensitive topic. So what happens? The survey has there anonymous hoga, and they will be honest with their response, so as to get better information on generally on sensitive topics. ठीक है, चलिए. Survey also helps geographical dispersion. Suppose somebody is staying in some other country nowadays, so because of video call and everything, that problem is also solved. You can have online meeting like this particular faculty development program. We have people sitting around the different part of the Odisha, and they are kind of attending a session here. So up to geographical dispersion is not a problem nowadays. But anyway, it can be one of the reasons. As a suppose a ground researcher, you have you're trying to understand a particular disease, you may not be able to travel to that particular location, so you will use survey. Okay. So these are the few kind of scenarios I discussed. There can be other scenarios also, like suppose uh, surveys are more convenient at interpreting to you. Convenience can be one of the reason. You want consistency in your responses, so you will have open-ended questions. ठीक है, ये open-ended question क्या होता है? So what happens in survey? We have two type of questions: open-ended and close-ended. What is the meaning of that?
The questions are not confined to yes, no, or tick marks only. Sir.
They are kind of in open-ended question. What happens? The responder are free to use their own words without being restricted by my predefined options. ठीक है. For example, I will ask you like, how do you feel about this remote workshop? Right, online workshop. That is kind of an example of open-ended question. But if I give you few options, rate the workshop from 1 to 5, 1 being worst, 5 being best, that will become a close-ended question. I am kind of restricting your response to few of the options. So it can be multiple choice, yes, no, whatever it may be. ठीक है? So what happens? There is no fixed answer in open-ended. The data obviously will be qualitative. Open-ended questions are there for collecting qualitative data. The behavior, the opinion, generally, if you're trying to capture opinion, behavior, all those things, you will capture through open-ended questions. Okay. And you're trying to explore something also. You're trying to understand the perspective, consumer perspective. You want detailed explanation. Generally, all the survey will end up with one open-ended question at the end. आप लोगों ने observe किया होगा. Any other comment? They will have close questions, close-ended question, where they will be collecting some information. At the last, there will be one open-ended question. ठीक है? So it kind of encourages more thoughtful response. But it has own cost also. क्या problem क्या है open-ended questions का?
Sir, there are difficulties in receiving the particular element of the product or something like that. As we cannot take too much of data for a single single product. So open-ended question like the consumers are giving feedback to the each and every element of the product. So that will be a difficulty for a company to understand all the things.
Correct. The what you're trying to say, I will kind of try to articulate that it is harder to analyze a researcher. All the open-ended question, it will become too difficult as a researcher for you kind of collect that, analyze that because all are qualitative data. Numbers में नहीं है 1 2 3 की you will take average, you will understand okay they are happy with this particular features or something like that. So it's difficult to analyze. You have to manually code everything. You will have to use sentiment analysis and all those things you will use nowadays with the invent of this particular AI and chatbot, chat GPT. It's easier for us to kind of analyze the uh, qualitative data also, but obviously it will be always harder to analyze qualitative data compared to quantitative. Time consuming for the respondent also, and some of people will drop off from your research. Suppose I have 10 open-ended question in my survey. Most of the responder will not be willing to write 10 answers, right? That will lead to a drop off. A lot of people will drop from my particular survey. So that is the reason you will always find only one open-ended question in most of the marketing survey. Okay? And it may lead to completely irrelevant information or sometimes overly brief answers. Okay? All these slides talk about advantage and disadvantage of mail. मेल तो यूज होता नहीं है इन हाउस पर्सन इंटरव्यू आई होप यू गॉट द फेयर आइडिया ऑफ ओपन एंडेड एंड क्लोज एंडेड
Yes, sir.
ठीक है what can be the challenges you can face during survey data collection let me start with an example low response rate what can be the other problem with the survey
Sir, maybe a lack of knowledge. Suppose
uh, lack of
I am a, huh,
Hmm.
yes, sir. Suppose I am a smartphone user and other one is a normal user who have not ever used the smartphones.
Smartphone
So if we ask two persons, the most quality answer we will get from the smartphone user, but not one is the normal user.
okay
That will
correct
be another difficulty for a researcher to receive any kind of data.
Mhm. ठीक है so the lack of context for the responder may lead to a bad quality data ठीक है data quality issue will be there incomplete dishonest response may affect your survey data collection then comes the selection biasness what happens suppose you go to a mall to collect information on certain product suppose आप एक रेड बुल के लिए समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं रेड बुल हैज कम अप विद अ न्यू एनर्जी ड्रिंक and you're trying to understand uh, what is the response of the people how happy they are with that a new test now what will happen only those people who are kind of extrovert or highly opinionated will come to your stall and give feedback about the new energy drink from Red Bull. Now, what will happen? This self selection bias happens because you will only get data from a similar type of people. The sample will not be representative. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Then there is limited flexibility also with the survey. You cannot adopt question based on the participant. Okay, so flexibility now there. See, more structure means less flexibility. So there will be a trade-off between flexibility and structure. What happens in interviews? You will have more flexibility to include any follow-up questions. Okay. But in survey, you cannot do that. And एक तो हम लोगों ने देख चुके हैं superficial response, like if we have too much of open-ended question, then we may get less in-depth kind of information from the respondent. ठीक है. Okay. I think these advantage, disadvantage, I should not go through that. It will be self-explanatory. Mall intercept, telephone. We know low cost, wide distribution possible. और ये सारी चीजें ही हैं. So once you will start using it, you will understand. आप go through करोगे, it's self-explanatory. Internet, mostly we will be, we generally use nowadays internet as a form of data collection. See, I will tell you what happens. A recent experience of mine. Few of my PhD scholars, they came to collect some information on supply chain. They were doing some project, and they gave me a paper to fill the form. I had asked them to give me an online Google form, but they've submitted the paper. It is still lying on my table. So that will be the problem with a physical form of data collection. I am not willing to use pen and fill the form. एक तो I do not support these type of data collection survey where you are wasting papers. Second, is convenient for me. I can lie on my bed and fill the form. When I'm in office, I have some works. I'm taking some classes or preparing for the classes. So this is how. These are the problem with physical form of data collection. Internet, at my convenience. Even if I'm traveling, I can fill the survey. And mostly nowadays, so we use Google Form and all those online surveys only. This particular slide is showing कि कौन सा high cost है, low cost है. Email is low cost. Personal interviews will be high cost. Phone will be limited. Personal interviews, as I said, highly versatile. ठीक है. If you go and interview the person personally, जैसे कि हम लोग, if you look at the best example will be the census done by the government. But that personal interview is very costly, highly versatile, very costly, and slow also. This mail is slower than personal because we know how mail works, right? Mail is the telegram they are talking about, not the email. Email is obviously the fastest way. That is what they are showing in this particular slide. ठीक है. Before going to the observation method, I have few questions for you. नहीं, observation method पे जाने के पहले, what I will do, I will discuss the questionnaire first. That will be better. एक second रुकिएगा. I will share the another slide. Questionnaire. How many of you know about questionnaire? And the second question will be how it is different from survey. Anyone?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. ठीक है. We'll come to that question later. Questionnaire is, again, this is a structured technique of data collection that consists of series of questions, written or verbal, that a respondent answer is known as questionnaire. Clear? Again, in questionnaire, we can have open-ended question and closed-ended questions. Thinking. It's kind of series of questions. It's very much important how you build the questionnaire. So in this particular kind of discussion, we will understand the complete process of the good habits, the bad habit of creating a questionnaire. Okay. Okay. What are the objective of questionnaire? So it kind of whatever information you are trying to capture, that you should be able to transform into a question, and the question should be able to capture those information. You are kind of translating the information you need for your research to solve a business problem or the research problem you have in your hand, and converting it into questions. A questionnaire must uplift, motivate, and encourage the respondent to become involved in the interview, to cooperate, and to complete the interviews. ये क्यों important है? There will be less drop off from your data collection process. How we do that, how we upload, how we motivate and encourage respondent, we will come to that in later slide. The questionnaire should minimize response error. कितने टाइप ऑफ एरर होते हैं किसी भी रिसर्च में? Okay, response error is an error that arises when respondent give inaccurate answer or their answer are misrecorded or misanalyzed. So there are different reasons why response error will happen. The response error can happen because of, as a reason given, inaccurate answer, or as a researcher, I misrecorded it, or I did error while analyzing the data itself. So there can be a different reason for response error. There is called sampling error and response error. Generally, we kind of categorize error into these two groups: response and sampling error. So sampling, if we have studied, so we are not going into discussing those things. But sampling error happens because of it can happen because of randomness also in the sample, or the particular type of sampling method you have used for your research. कितने sampling method पता है आप लोगों को? How many of you know about different sampling method?
Systematic sampling method, sequential sampling method, quota sampling method.
ठीक है.
Could be
Random
purposive or random also.
Generally, any sampling method will be categorized into probabilistic or non-probabilistic sampling method. If everyone in your population has equal chance of being part of the sample, it will be probabilistic sampling method. Non-probabilistic sampling is if the population or every element in the population have not equal chance of being part of the sample. And then we further divide it into simple random sampling, stratified, cluster, convenient, systematic. Those are different kind of उसमें अभी जाते हैं हम लोग. Now look at this questionnaire design process. It starts with specifying the information needed. So the very first step of building a good questionnaire is you have to specify all the information you need for your research. Clear? Why it is important? I will give example of one restaurant wala फिर से. Suppose you are trying to understand your research goal is to understand the customer satisfaction with a restaurant. Now, why it is important to specify whatever information you need is the relevant information you will collect in this particular, or to understand this particular, or to reach the goal of this particular research is food quality, service speed, cleanliness, pricing, etc., etc. You're trying to understand the consumer satisfaction. So how they rate the food quality, the service speed, and the quality of service, how clean the store is or restaurant is, pricing, parking. It can be a number of information you will collect. Now suppose your questionnaire have a question which reads like, what is your favorite destination or vacation destination? That information is not at all relevant for my research goal for this particular problem. I'm trying to understand the consumer satisfaction. So आप बोलोगे नहीं ये तो बहुत stupid है, but generally we kind of do such mistakes. If we do not write the information needed correctly, we end up collecting unimportant or irrelevant data. Whoever is raising hand, please go ahead.
Sir, very good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, I am from Einstein Academy of Technology and Management. Sir, I got a question.
Please go ahead.
Sir, how much this questionnaire will be related to, sir, our experimental kind of the research?
Experimental kind of research, right?
Yes, sir.
It is very much important.
Yeah, sir, could you just elaborate on how just it will help? Because I am doing my work in NLP, Natural Language Processing, sir. So actually, I do collect the data from the different university, but questionnaire, as it is a process of is a type of collection of the data, right, sir? Sir, how does it relate or relevant to our experimental kind of the research?
I will give an example from market itself. Suppose a company, I already gave the example, a lot of examples, but I will use the same example again as you have asked the question. Suppose you are trying to understand the impact of a particular marketing campaign by the company.
Yeah.
Now, or a company has come up with one new product.
Yes, sir.
So what they do when they do the test marketing, they will go and launch the product in a particular limited area. And based on the survey, based on the feedback they have, they will get from the consumer regarding that particular product, they will decide whether to launch that particular product countrywide or zone-wise or not. So that can be a good example of how you are using questionnaire to collect information about the new product before launching at national level.
Yes, sir.
For example, government of India will also kind of in a limited area, 1-2 village. Looking at the performance, a performance how they will measure based on certain criteria. कि उनकी monthly income कितनी हो गई है, how well they are able to handle their families issues, how happy they are. You can use a number of parameters to measure कि there is actually the upliftment happening out there or not. Now that experimental design, what you're doing before introducing the new kind of this particular government policies or implementation of new thing to uplift women, whatever activity they are doing in those things. Suppose they are educating women or providing job opportunity or giving kind of loan for starting their own business, and how their life has changed before and after. I will measure those things and say, okay, fine, this particular policy is working, so we should go with this particular policy throughout the India. Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Now the second step is specify the type of interviewing method. Online service, Google Form. We most of us use Google Forms or Qualtrics. Qualtrics is more or less advanced version of Google Form where you will find the implementation of AI and all. A lot of statistical tools are inbuilt there. Google Form is good enough for a lot of research, but it lacks a lot of business tools. Face-to-face interviews, telephonic interviews, paper-based surveys. Okay. So these are kind of different interview method. You will before and select how I'm going to interview the respondent. Okay. Suppose at your college or institute, you are trying to get student feedback. So you will obviously go with the online survey method. So as to make sure it reaches to the majority of students easily, less time, less effort, very easily it's reachable to most of the students. Now you will say, no, I will do face-to-face interview. I will collect data from all the students. Now that is, I may not see it in practical extreme statement, but very time consuming, right? Okay. Now comes the third step, which is determine the content of individual questions. You have to determine the content of individual questions. What is the meaning of that? Each question which you have in your survey, a questionnaire. Sorry for using the survey term, but there are some relationship between survey and questionnaire, but they are not the same thing. So each question should directly contribute to a research objective. Whatever questions you have there in questionnaire should be somehow helping you out in your research. Which will not help. Suppose I'm trying to understand the I should not ask how good is your internet connection, what color of kind of chair you are using, topic or redundant question. Each question out with my research. Am I audible?
So your voice is breaking in between. I don't know whether it's from my side or from your this kind of in between your voice is breaking.
हाँ भैया, कहाँ पे अभी?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I think I have some issue with the internet. Please bear with me.
Sure, sir.
We were discussing about कि every question should directly contribute to your research objective. If the question is not helping to achieve a research goal, that should not be part of your questionnaire. The fourth one is design question to overcome respondents' inability and unwillingness to answer. How you can do that? You have to design your questionnaire so as to overcome respondent inability and unwillingness to answer. You can do that by making it easy and comfortable for respondent to answer. Okay? How we do that? Suppose you are trying to know the income level of a particular person or respondent. You can do that using two type of questions. One, because the income is kind of sensitive to a lot of people, you can give a range 0 to 50,000, 50,000 to 1 lakh, 1 lakh and above. Or you can use an incorrect way of asking the same question. How much money do you earn every month? Now, what will happen, because this particular information you are trying to capture using the question is a bit sensitive, it will be incorrect to ask the question directly. I'm not making them easy or comfortable to answer the question. So what I should do, I should kind of use or make their life comfortable. I will give range to them and they can select one from there. Clear to all of you? Okay.
Yes, sir. Professor Jyotiranjan, sir, please mute your mic. Yes, sir, you can go ahead.
Okay. The next one is decide on the question structure. Again, open-ended, close-ended. That is what they are trying to say. Choose between what type of question you are going to ask, what information you are trying to capture. Close-ended on a scale of 1 to 5. Suppose I am asking how motivated you are to attend the workshop. Open-ended, what factor kind of motivated you to participate in this workshop? Same question. I am using open-ended question. If I want to get more insight, or if I'm just trying to know how motivated you are to participate in the this particular workshop, on a scale of 1 to 5, I will ask you to rate it. Same question I can use open-ended. Okay? Now, when you are building open-ended question, you should be very much kind of 1 minute. So your open-ended question should not be too broad. Like suppose I'm asking a question, describe your work experience in detail in a questionnaire. And it will be a too broad a question to ask in data collection. Or a very simple question. Suppose a questionnaire is there, a company is trying to understand the motivation of the employees, how motivated they are, and they are asking question. A questionnaire has a question like, do you like working here? It's a too simple question which lack depth, right? That will be an example of incorrect questions. Do you like working here? Too kind of simplistic.
Dr. Singh, can we not put a word limit here?
No. Word limit is not there. If question is self-explanatory,
If it is open-ended and we put a word limit that put it within say 50 or 3 sentences like this.
see what happens nowadays. We will go through the Google form. We will see there are short answer type questions and long answer type questions also.
Yeah.
So in short answer type, you will expect them to write a max of 1 paragraph. In long answer type, when you allow them to write more than 1 paragraph, so the limit is automatically implied. But you can always put a limit in open-ended question.
That's what I mean.
Now comes the sixth point, which is determine the question wording. Very much important to use clear, neutral, and simple language. Never ever use kind of difficult words, unclear statement. If I'm trying to understand the customer satisfaction, I will simply ask, how satisfied are you with the customer service? Please rate us on the scale of 1 to 5. 1 being least satisfied, 5 being more satisfied. Simple, clear. Now, if I ask a question like, do you agree that our customer service is excellent? Now you will say, what is wrong with this particular question? Yeah, don't you agree that our customer service is excellent? Now take this particular example. Don't you agree that our customer service is excellent? Now I'm using negative statement to get good feedback for my company, and it may not be clear to most of the respondent. Don't you agree that our customer service is excellent? What should be the answer for that? Yes or no? If you are satisfied with the service. Sorry. If you're satisfied with the service, what should be your answer for this particular question? Don't you agree that our customer service is excellent? ठीक है, आपको जज करने देता हूं मैं what should be your answer, but that is not important. That what I'm saying, this particular question is not clear. No, yes, Aru Prasad Padi is it? Okay. Now let's take another example of wrong question wording. Do you know your omni-channel CX solution effective? Do you find our omni-channel CX solution effective? Now, what is happening? A lot of the respondent will not be knowing about what this omni-channel is, what this CX is. So I should not be using all these jargons when I'm trying to get some response. Clear है? Why it is very important to have very clear, neutral, simple language for your questions. ठीक है. Now, the seventh one talks about arrange the question paper in proper order. Start with easy, engaging questions. 1 minute. Okay. So generally what happens in questions, a questionnaire, you start with easy, engaging questions, and if you're trying to capture some sensitive information, you put that later in the questionnaire. And generally questionnaires are ended with open-ended questions, which we have already discussed. Okay. For example, I will read the example for you. How often do you visit your store? How often do you visit our store? Easy questions. I kind of encourage the respondent to participate in the data collection. How would you rate our product selection? How much do you usually spend? Now what happens? First question was easy. Now how much do you usually spend? This is more in personal question. So this is kind of a sensitive question. So I put it later as a third question. I started with a very easy question, then went to the personal sensitive information. Now last one is, would you recommend us to others? A kind of open-ended question. Okay. Now that is the example of correct questionnaire. Now I will give an example of incorrect questionnaire. The first question is too personal upfront. How much do you spend monthly? Now the second question is, what is your name? Third will be, do you like our product? Now fourth one is, how often do you visit our store? A thing is that एक तो order नहीं है, there is no order at all, illogical order. One of the simplest example. The more personal question was asked straight away. Looking at the first question itself, the respondent will be on back foot. Okay, I am not willing to participate in this type of survey. First question itself asking about how much do you spend monthly. So that is an example of incorrect questionnaire. No order, sensitive information straight away you are asking. So what we do as a question when we are building questionnaire, if we are capturing some sensitive information, age, gender won't be a person. Age, suppose I'm trying to capture, income, family background, how many car I'm owning, my fixed asset, those things should be in the later part of the questionnaire. Generally, questionnaire are not of 4 or 5 questions. When we make questionnaire, we can have as many as 30, 40, 50, 100 questions in the questionnaire, depending on what we are trying to capture, how we are trying to capture. When I'm using survey and questionnaire to collect qualitative data, generally that will be full of lot of questions. Consumer survey, all these data collection, we will have less number of questions, because I cannot make my consumer respond to 20, 30 questions. Forget about responding to 100 questions. But if I am collecting qualitative data, collecting data from the expert in that particular field, based on certain reward, I can make them fail 100 questions also. Once, hello सर, मैं सेशन के बीच में ही था और आधा घंटा सर, मॉर्निंग में भी एक सेशन थी. हाँ, मैं पहुंच जाऊंगा सर आधे घंटे. Okay, I'm getting a lot of calls. Sorry for that. Okay. Now, the eighth one is identify the form and layout. These are simple. How visually appealing you can make your questionnaire, the navigation, proper navigation, 10% completed, 20% completed, all those things be visible. Okay. You should be consistent with your font size and spacing, clearly marked section, logical flow of question, so that is important already discussed. आपने description नहीं दिया questionnaire में. We will look into one of the questionnaire. We will make one questionnaire from scratch. We will see how to use Google form. If you are willing, अगर सबको आता है तो we will skip that particular part, demo वाला part. Should I make one Google form and show you how to build questionnaire, or skip it? कुछ तो yes no कुछ response करिए आप लोग. ठीक है.
Sir, there
मुझे
is
लगता
an
है कि
yes in the chat box, sir.
Okay. हाँ, I saw now. Please do. Okay, we will kind of form one question here. यहाँ पे.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, reproduce the questionnaire. Ensure the questionnaire is properly formatted and structured. Okay. Reproduce means more than one respondent can participate in the questionnaire. When we are making Google form, obviously, the same form I can give it to a number of people. So that is what the reproduction meant by this particular line. The last one talks about eliminate bugs by pre-testing. So what happens? Suppose you have formed a questionnaire. Now instead of going into full-fledged data collection mode, you will kind of collect data from 10 respondents, suppose, and you will see whether there is some issue with the questionnaire or not. What type of problem can be happening? The questionnaire may not be able to capture the information you need, or the respondents are not able to understand the question. There can be a number of things which can happen. So this pre-testing helps you to identify those kind of issues beforehand, before going into a full-fledged data collection mode. And because of not doing pre-testing, misinterpretation, missing data, misanalysis, everything will happen in your data. Clear? Okay, so more or less we have discussed all the steps in questionnaire design process, right? Okay. The coming slide will actually discuss those things in detail only. Specify the information needed. Okay, here I didn't talk about this idea about target population. So it's very much important. Who are your target population? You have to understand that, how you select the sample from the target population. Whether you want representative sampling or not. These are all part of your kind of what information you need. Based on that, you will select the sampling method and collect the data. Like, it's important to understand your target population also, because they may not be able to understand the context in which you are collecting data. Doctors, suppose you are doing survey of the doctors, so you can ask them more technical questions, medical term में आप उनसे discussion कर सकते हैं. But suppose you are collecting data from an engineering student, those who are not well versed with medical term. So you have to kind of understand the target population, whether they will understand the context or not, is it appropriate for them or not. You're collecting data from a college student or school student, so you have to make sure those questionnaires are appropriate for them based on their age, profession. So it's very much important to understand the target population. Baki to, the first one is specifying the information needed is very much important. So as to kind of translate every information into a question, whatever information you need. Specify the type of interview, देख लिया हम लोगों ने. These discussion we have done. Overcoming inability to answer of the respondent. Is the respondent informed? Can the respondent remember? Can the respondent articulate? What happens generally? Why the second term? Can the respondent remember? Generally, such type of questions are asked in. Hello. Oh, I had muted myself. Okay, what I'm saying, I will wrap up in 10 minutes. Uh, we have admission going on here, so I have to be there. And the HOD has called me to be there in the office. So, jaldi se we will make a questionnaire. So, I will do the process again. All of you go to the website. So, we have a lot of templates here. Generally, we start with blank form. So, click on the blank form. This is how the window will look like. Now, you give any title to the this particular questionnaire you are making. क्या title देना चाहेंगे? Class you suggest? Okay, I will just give it a name. Customer satisfaction survey. Okay, we are trying to understand the customer satisfaction. So, this is the title of your kind of the form you are making. Now, here is a description which you write about the questionnaire. It is very much important you give a proper description of the whatever information you are trying to capture through the survey. Like what we are trying to do here. I'm just writing a brief description of the survey. We are trying to capture customer. We try to capture the customer satisfaction for our newly launched product. Okay, suppose a company has launched a new product and they are trying to capture the customer satisfaction for the same product. Now comes the question part. Now we have different type of questions here. As you can see, I can straight away ask for the name of the customer, and by default you can see short answer tag or text is written here. I can change it from here. Paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, Dropbox, file upload. So depending on what you are trying to capture, I can have different thing I can capture here. Suppose this will be a short answer type question. I'm asking for the name of the customer. But the important thing is that when I'm trying to understand the consumer satisfaction for a new product, now this name may not be important for me. You understand? So to make it more comfortable as a researcher, I may not include any personal information for such type of survey. मुझे नहीं जानना है personal information. I may try to capture the email ID so as to make future kind of interaction, but I may not need the name of the consumer. But anyway, for the purpose of sake of making the response, तो आप यहाँ पे नाम collect कर रहे हैं, then you can click on this plus symbol. What will happen? One more question will come. Now I can have multiple choice questions here. Suppose I'm trying to understand their monthly salary. Multiple choice, option 1, 1 to 50,000 suppose. Sorry for this. I can click on add other. Okay, give me a minute. $50,000 to 1 lakh, 1 lakh and above. So this is how you kind of can create multiple choice questions. So I have one question which is capturing the name of the customer, monthly salary, and I will add another question. Suppose how happy or or suppose what product they are selling. Suppose it is an energy drink. Do you like the taste of the new drink? So I can have simple yes no question. See, they have already given you a suggestion here also. You can click on add all, yes no, maybe automatically kind of floated here. मुझे कुछ नहीं करना पड़ा. Now we will add another question. Are you happy with the price? Add all. Now, if you look at these toggle, now this toggle makes you like this question is mandatory. If I uncheck it, this particular question will not be mandatory for the respondent to respond. The rest of the question are required, mandatory. So this is how a simple kind of Google form will look like. Now to start sharing this, you will click on publish. I can change how I'm going to collect information, anyone with the link, or you can change it here also. कि क्या करना है आपको, anyone with the link or restricted, like I can say some specific people, but it is always a good idea to keep it as anyone with the link, or if I want a restricted one, I can restrict it. So what will happen? To whoever I'm sending the file, they can only access this particular Google form. Now to publish what I'm doing, once I click on the publish, now people can start kind of access this particular survey. I will request few of you to kind of fill the survey for me. I'm sharing the link. I will request few of you to please fill the survey so that I can show you how you link see it and get the response. No one has filled till now. So what this link to sheet particular thing does, whatever response you are getting, it get linked to a Excel sheet. So I have got one response. Okay, I've got two response. So you can see the response are getting kind of populated here. Now I have three response. So it does not take much of the effort, but the important thing is that if you look at the last question, it is not mandatory for you to give response for the last question. Save this tab instead. See, whatever information you are filling, it's getting populated here in the Excel. So now I can do, I will get to understand, अच्छा ठीक है, average salary क्या है class की, whether they like the new drink or not, they're happy with the price or not. So anyway, see, thank you class for your patience and participation in the discussion. I have to go for a meeting immediately. Extremely sorry for that. We will meet in the afternoon, sorry. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Slept. Okay. We will have a break of 30 minutes. Break till 11:30. Please join back in the same link for session 5 that will start from 11:30. Thank you. You can all leave the meet now. Please join back within 11:30.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.